Hi, my name is Orlando Lopez. This is my career simulation 2, Security Operations. Following the successful installation and upgrade of our client's virtual network, we were asked to evaluate two critical systems or vulnerabilities: the newly deployed production server, installed by an external consultant, and the existing web server. We're going to enumerate vulnerabilities found on both the production and the web server by using the Kali Trusted Machine and its terminal via the nmap command. We're going to provide CVE numbers and CVSS numbers for four critical vulnerabilities on both servers. Then we're going to exploit two vulnerabilities per server using the MSF console command in Kali. Then we're going to create root level backdoor accounts on both servers. Using the root access gain, we will share any interesting files or sensitive information that's been exposed on the servers. To emphasize security concerns, we will crack user configured passwords on the production server, and security recommendations will be provided to the client based upon our findings. To begin this process, though, we need to verify the IP address of both the web server and the production server. To do so, we're going to log into the production and the web server with the provided credentials. Once logged in, we're going to type in the IP address command. As you can see here, for the production server, our IP address is 192.168.0.18, and for the web server, it's 10.200.0.12. Using that information, we're going to scan for vulnerabilities, and we're going to start on the production server. First, we're going to open the Kali Trusted Machine and its terminal. Then we're going to enumerate vulnerabilities on the production server with the nmap script vuln command below. Using this command, it's going to download a document onto our desktop titled Vulnerabilities Examples. Once we open this document, it's going to contain a list of open ports, their vulnerability status, and the names of specific exploits that these ports are susceptible to. And several CVE numbers will be identified using this document. And with those CVE numbers and the names of these exploits, we're going to use them along with the help of the internet to find the CVSS scores related to these exploits. The first exploit we found was the VSF TPD version 2.34 backdoor. The CVE for this is listed here. And we also have the CVSS score, which is 10, and the port number which is 21. And here, for every exploit, we're going to have a screenshot of where we found it and a screenshot from the website where we found the information as well. Here we have the Slowloris DOS attack. We have the CVE number listed here, the CVSS score, which is 5, and the port number it's located at, which is 80. And here we have the SSL/TLS MITM or man in the middle attack. We have the CVE number listed here, the CVSS score, which is 5.8, and the port number, which is 5432. And now we have the SSL-DH-params attack, which is somewhat similar to the attack that was listed previously because it happens on the same port. Its port number is 5432, but it has a CVSS score of 5.3. And now we're going to move on to exploiting production server vulnerabilities. To do so, first we open Metasploit in the Kali terminal using the MSF console command. Using the search function, we're going to identify the exploit we're going to use. In this instance, we typed in the search Samba command because Samba is the exploit that we're going to use for this. We're then going to verify the index number using the use index number command. In this case, it was 8, so we type in use 8. After verifying that, we're going to use the show options command. This is going to let us know if we have to set our host. After checking our options, we notice that we do have to set the R host. So we're going to set the R host to the IP address of the production server using the set R host insert IP address command. Then we will execute the run command. Upon this successfully running, a shell is going to open. And within that shell, I'm going to type who am I to prove that this exploit also gives me backdoor access. Another exploit that we're going to do in the production server is the VS-FTPD exploit. So again, if we were doing this from scratch, we would open Metasploit in the Kali terminal using the MSF console command. Then we'd use the search function to identify the exploit we're going to use. And again, in this case, we're going to use search VSF TPD. Then we're going to show our options, and after checking our options, we're going to set our host to the IP address of the production server again. And this specific exploit requires us to execute the run command twice. Upon successfully running the exploit, a shell is going to open. And the shell opened by the previous exploit, we're going to use it to help create a backdoor in the production server. So with the open shell, we're going to add a new user using the user add command. And with this user, we're also going to add a password with the password command. So we're going to hit user add dash OU0 dash G Billy, and we're going to give Billy a password, and the password is going to be Billy is my dog. And to verify that this user was added onto the production server, we're going to log into the production server with this user. And to verify its privileges, we're going to type in the who am I command inside the production server. And as you can see, when I typed in who am I, the response back was root, thereby showing that we successfully created a backdoor account in the production server with root privileges. Once we have that root access, we're going to take it a little further. So using the root access gained via the previous exploit, we're going to initiate directory exploration via the pwd command. We're going to use the ls-l command to list the directories. Then we're going to navigate to the home directory using the cd command and do cd home. And using the previous command chain, we're going to find the MSF admin directory, and we're going to list the contents in that directory. And once we list the contents in that directory, we're going to change our directory once more to the stuff directory. And within the stuff directory, we find a file titled save combinations. And with this file, we're actually going to use the cat command to read it to us. And as you can see here, after having the cat command read it to us, we have a save combination. And this just goes to show that once we have root access in what feels like any of these exploits, we're able to get very sensitive information out of the production server, which definitely highlights a huge security risk. Scanning for vulnerabilities on the web server. Enumerating the vulnerabilities found on the web server will require us to use the nmap script vuln command below. Once we type in this command, it's going to download a document onto our desktop similar to what the production server did, except this one's going to be called web server vuln. Within this text, it's going to contain, again, a list of open ports, their vulnerability status, the names of specific exploit ports are susceptible to, CVE numbers for certain ports, but we will have to find the CVS scores on our own through a little bit of research through the internet. Moving on to some of the vulnerabilities I found. The first exploit I found was the RMI-vuln-class loader. Its CVS score is 7.5, and we have its CVE score listed here, and its port number is 34571. The next exploit I found was SSL Poodle. Here we have the CVE, the CVS score, 4.3, and the port number 5432. And then another exploit I found that was similar to production server was also the VSF TPD exploit. And again, we have the CVE right here, and then we have the CVSS, which is 10, and the port number is 21. And we have the Slow Loris DOS attack here as well. And here we have the CVE listed, the CVSS score, which is 5, the port number, which is 80. Next, we're going to move on to exploiting web server vulnerabilities. On the web server, it's going to be somewhat similar to production server. We're going to open Metasploit in the Kali terminal using the MSF console command. And once we do that, we're going to use the search function and identify the exploit we're going to use. In this case, we'll type in search slow loris. After that, we're going to check our options and set the R host to the IP address of the web server. Then we're going to run the exploit. And after successfully running the exploit, as you can see here, it's going to keep sending in those attacks. It would do it constantly if I didn't stop it. So since we just wanted to demonstrate that it happened, I'm going to stop it and I'm going to enter the command Control-C to force quit the attacks. But as you can see, it sent quite a bit of sockets in before I even hit the stop command. Another exploit on the web server that we're going to do is the Java RMI exploit. So again, if we were doing this from scratch, I would open Metasploit in the Kali terminal using the MSFM, the MSF console command, and then I would use the search function, and I would identify the exploit I'm going to use. In this case, it's search Java RMI. After checking our options, we'll set the rhost to the IP address of the web server. We're going to run the exploit. Following successful running of the exploit, Meterpreter is going to open in this case. And to kind of prove what's happening and how successful the exploit was, in Meterpreter, we're going to type in get UID to show that this exploit gives us root access as well. And the shell command is also used to verify access attained through this exploit. So once I get past get UID, it shows that I am the root user. And then in Meterpreter, I'm going to open a shell and I'm going to type in who am I to prove that just to really double down that I have root access. Creating a backdoor in the web server. Building on the previous exploit, with the shell I created, I'm also going to add a user to the web server. I'm going to type in the command user add -ou -0 -g 0, insert the username, and this user I'm going to add to the web server is going to be Bailey, and Bailey's password is going to be other dog. And after successfully adding this user, I'm going to log into the web server to verify I have privileges with the whoami command. And as you can see here, I successfully logged into the web server with this new user and its corresponding password. And after typing whoami, I was able to verify that this user that we created with this backdoor exploit has root privileges. Building upon that, I wanted to dig around and find some files. So using the root access gained in the previous exploit, I'm going to explore files located in the web server's directories using the cd and ls-l commands like I did previously. And here I'm going to navigate to the Jasper directory. And once I open that, I'm going to find a file named candidate list. And then I'm going to run the cat command again, but on the name of this file. And when I open this file, you see that as soon as I open it, it says this file contains sensitive information is only for the use of CEO. Do not share with anyone. Not only that, it has addresses, it has date of birth, social security numbers, the kind of information that if it fell into any kind of bad actor's hands would be anyone's worst nightmare. To really show the kind of severity and lack of security, so to say, that is on the production server, I'm going to crack passwords on the production server. And so to do so, on the hack production server, I was able to do it by getting access to user files and passwords via John the Ripper. The first step in this process was to type in the command you see listed here. Once I typed in that command, it downloaded a file to our Kali desktop that contained a list of all the user accounts. I then proceeded to download the shadow file that contained the hash passwords that corresponded to each user's account with the command listed here. After successfully downloading those two files, I used this command to combine the two files we downloaded earlier and sent that output to a new file called John's password. Following completion of that command, I evoked John the Ripper with this command. The results of successfully executing John the Ripper were then placed into the file John's password. And what John the Ripper did was essentially unhash those passwords. And so once I did that, I wanted to see what those passwords were. And so lastly, I ran this command to display the results of the cracking process. And here we have this here, an example that we did successfully crack these passwords. As you can see here, we have the users with their corresponding passwords. Security recommendations. I would assess and secure all open ports. I would close any that are necessary to reduce attack surface. I would also think about strengthening the firewall configuration and restrict incoming traffic to trusted IPs, maybe at least for a small amount of time. I'd also think about, disabling the FTP port if possible and using secure protocols like SSH or SCP. I'd also monitor FTP for any unusual activity like failed logins, unknown files, and backdoors like the ones we created. I would also recommend that they implement stronger authentication methods, such as dual-factor authentication and enforcing strong password policies to strengthen confidentiality security aspects. To limit DOS attacks in the web server, I would limit simultaneous connections from the same IP and adjust web server timeout settings accordingly so that you can limit idle connection times. I'd also maintain detailed logs for access, configuration changes, and failed login attempts to help strengthen integrity and availability security aspects. I'd also recommend offsite backup protocols to ensure that the data can be recovered in case of severe security breaches. The main reason I recommend that is because it seems like there's a lot of data that has already been perhaps like stolen or like, I don't know, there's just like a lot of data that's at risk. And by having an offsite backup, you're able to ensure that if anything happens and a bad actor comes in and tries to like ransomware you, you'll be able to have it. You won't have to worry about paying a ton of money for it back. Closing remarks. I think by implementing these security recommendations and addressing the identified vulnerabilities, you lay the groundwork for a more resilient network architecture, which in turn reduces the exposure to threats and reinforces your overall security posture. All right. And so now we're going to do a live demo of some of one of the vulnerabilities we found. All right. So we're going to open Kali. In the Kali terminal, well, first off, move some stuff around here. First off, I'm going to show you. So we're going to go into this vulnerability file and we're going to use this exploit on port 7 right there, on line 7 right there. All right. Kept going back into Kali. I'm first going to type in MSF console, and this is going to open Metasploit. And sometimes it does take a little bit of a second. All right. And with Metasploit open, I'm going to type in the search command and the exploit we're looking at, which is VSFTPD. Cool. And I'm going to use the index number 0 because that's the exploit we want to run. So we're going to hit use 0 and then I'm going to hit run to make sure the exploit runs. Before we do that, actually, we need to set the R host. So I'm going to set the R host to 192. Oh, actually, first let's show the options just so we can prove that the R host needs to be set. And as you can see here, the R host is empty. So we're going to set the R host. So set the R host to our IP address of the production server, which is 192.168.0.18. All right, and we're going to hit run. Sweet. And the exploit was ran and the shell was created. And again, it's from within the shell that we could go and do all of our files. Like, let's do this. Do command pwd, and we'll list the directories that are open. As you can see here, look, all of our directories.